for the child to get medication if needed. Not always, sometimes. So parents are sometimes very resistant to the idea of medication because some misconceptions, some misinterpretations, and lack of understanding at times surrounding the medication. Obviously, I'm not here to advocate for medication, but I just want to explain that sometimes medication is just to assist that imbalance in the brain. It's just to assist that imbalance in the brain to help the child develop better behaviors. They are able to concentrate better, they are able to pay attention, they are able to restrict themselves and not be so impulsive. So it is very important that you do get the right dosage. Medical practitioners, GPs, can also prescribe, but it is very important that you get the right dose, because sometimes the dose is too high and then the child is now a zombie. Sometimes parents refer to it as that they are a zombie, because now their lows are very low. So it is very important that you get the right dosage, and a psychiatrist is the specialist in this department. So it is very important that you either go to a psychiatrist or a neurologist for this particular diagnosis and treatment, after the psychological assessment, of course. But bearing in mind that it is quite expensive, the consultations of those particular specialists. So sometimes parents do just take to the GP because they are much more easily accessible and cheaper. So it is important to just raise those concerns with the GP, so they are also just aware, and it is trial and error at times in terms of the dosage. So it is also important that you identify the side effects and how the child now acts after they've been on the medication. And then the second disorder that I have identified is autism spectrum disorder. So a child who's got autism, I don't know if you any of you have watched a series called The Good Doctor. The Good Doctor is a doctor who is autistic. So autistic children struggle with social interactions. So it is much more based on social interactions. So they will struggle with a change in their routine. So if, for example, if you drove a particular way to, or you walked a particular route to their school, they want that to be maintained, and sometimes they obsess over that. And once there is a disruption in their routine, they get frustrated, and it affects them. It affects them because they now struggle with that change. So let's say you paint their room, they will struggle with that because it's a change in their life. Let's say you change their favorite shorts, you buy them new shorts, and now it's a thing of they will want to obsess over those shorts because those are their favorite shorts. So sometimes these children are misinterpreted as being stubborn. They're misinterpreted as being stubborn, very rigid, not open to change, and frustrating. But it is very important that you understand that this child is going through something and they need help. That's why they are behaving this way. And sometimes this disorder may also affect them academically. They'll struggle to perform well at school. Some do perform very well, but generally an average child who's autistic, who exists on the spectrum, they will generally have very low marks. And there are a number of reasons for this, and some include the fact that they may not be able to adjust to the change at school, so they resist that change, and they don't follow instructions well because now it's a change in their way of doing things. So it therefore results in affecting their academic performance. So once you read up more about these, obviously there's lots of information on Google and all of those platforms. You'll find more on these. I'm just touching it on very surface level, so it is important that you also just take time to also just, if you want to know more, read up more. And then after that, there's depressive disorders and suicide. suicidality is very high in youth. So this is very sensitive, and it is very important that we are very aware of what children are going through. So some of the behavioral signs that I have already put on the table, and some of the physical changes that will show us that a child is going through a depressive episode, I've touched on in the presentation. It is very important to understand that this is not a checklist, which, okay, I feel this, therefore I am depressed, or this child is showing X, Y, and Z, therefore they are depressed. No, it's not a diagnostic guideline. It is just a guide, so that if you see that your child has lost interest in things that they used to enjoy, the child used to be a very good sports player, now suddenly they don't even want to sign up for sports the next term. Your child used to be a child who enjoys social gatherings. They want to go to all the youth camps. They want to go to all the church activities. Now suddenly they don't want to be involved in anything. That those are warning signs, and those are signs that you just need to bring to attention and get them the right help. Sometimes the thing of, they go for therapy and it is found that there's actually nothing really, but at times it could be a thing of, okay, there is something, and therefore they will continue with the therapy. So like I said, it's a guideline, not a diagnostic guide. So like I said earlier, children will act out their moods and their feelings at times, and these may sometimes be misinterpreted as being naughty. So it is very important that if your child is having these temper outbursts, they are having persistent irritability, they are angry, they have anger outbursts, you just analyze that and sit with it and think, what is this child communicating to me? What is this child saying? And you take it from there, instead of defending, instead of being on the defense, instead of attaching meanings that are negative to it. They are temperamental, they are moody, all of those things. You try and assist them. And then obviously with there are anxiety disorders, separation anxiety disorder, and panic attack disorder. Separation anxiety. So sometimes children or teens will struggle with separating from friends made in a different stage in their life to now the progression to a different stage. For example, a child is moving from grade 7 to now grade 8 in a school that has a division between high school and primary. They sometimes may struggle with the first few terms of grade 8, because now they have to adapt to the new changes, then the making of new friends if they haven't come with the old friends from primary school. So all of those things are normal, in the sense that we all experience anxieties when we go through changes, but sometimes they may be prolonged for too long, and then now it's concerning when the child is not adjusting to the change, where they're not adjusting in a healthy manner to the changing from grade 7 to grade 8. They're still struggling. Then it could be a separation anxiety disorder, and they would now need an intervention. Intervention being therapy in this case. And then I also just wanted to also highlight with let's just go to the disruptive and impulsive control and conduct disorders. I really would, these are some of the very important ones, and I think that please I would encourage you as parents to just do some research on these and try and educate yourselves on these. I have touched briefly on them, and the reason why I say they are very important is because they are very much misinterpreted as the child is being naughty, whereas the child is experiencing a disorder, a mental health disorder. So at times they will be misinterpreted as being naughty, and because of that, the parents themselves will develop a very hostile and negative attitude to the child, which then makes the situation worse. you know. So it will aggravate the behaviors to become even more, because now develop into other disorders like a depressive disorder on top of already what they are going through. And sometimes, often, not even sometimes, children turn to things like drugs and substance abuse and alcohol abuse. And most of the time, it's based on these disorders that are going undiagnosed and untreated. So, when parents say that they have a problem child, for example, terms like that, like a problem child, I have a naughty child, this child is naughty, akalaleli, it is also important that you just think about what could they be reacting to, what could be affecting them, because yes, some children are naughty. I'm not disputing that, and they do need to get the relevant punishments for their actions. And I'm not in no way, these disorders do not dispute that. It's just to say that, okay, the child is naughty, yes, they will get their punishment, they need to get their punishment, whichever punishment technique you ascribe to. But it's also a thing of, when the behavior is repetitive, you also start questioning, what if there's more to this? What if there's more to your child always skipping a curfew? They're not coming back home at 5 as you have already always communicated. Why are they defying that instruction all the time? So you also just need to keep questioning, why is this behavior so repetitive? Why is this child always reported to being grumpy and argumentative with all authority, figures of authority? You also need to start analyzing the reason for, like, the complaint. You need to also start analyzing the complaints. What is the pattern in these complaints? I'm constantly being called to the teacher, to the principal's office. What is this complaint? They are bullying, they are bullying, they are bullying. What is going on here? That kind of thing. And then eating disorders. Eating disorders are often misinterpreted to being just a girl thing, affecting the girls, and we often attach a lot of that to them. But please also understand that men, young boys, also can go through these. You'll see that some boys, they will want to become very buff, so they'll want to lift a lot of weights at gym. They'll obsess around that. They want to take protein shakes and they'll obsess around that. So it's also just to also watch your child's behavior, both girl and boy, in terms of, if you think they have an eating disorder, just watch how they speak about themselves. I'm not mature enough, I'm not, all of those things that they say about themselves, they can be very telling about how they are feeling, because eating disorders have a lot to do with how the person sees themselves, how they perceive themselves, how they feel others perceive them, their self-esteem. So most of these eating disorders are also a result of, unfortunately, what parents say at home. So a child who's generally quite plumpy, they will often get teased. Or a child who's quite chubby, they will sometimes get teased, and that will also develop an unhealthy, them, and developing an unhealthy relationship with their body and their food. So it's either they'll eat a lot and then they'll feel guilty, and then they'll self-induce vomiting, which is now a symptom of bulimia. So it's all of those things that you also just need to watch and also be sensitive to these issues. A child who's quite smaller in size may sometimes get teased, because now they will even be given names like Ukwane and all of those, and they will also affect them and their self-esteem. So there's sometimes I'm trying very hard to not blame, and because remember what I said when I started this presentation is that it is important that parents don't blame themselves, but sometimes it is things that we say as parents. It Yeah, so mental health is a conversation that can go on forever, and so now I'll end there. And I've added some references for therapy services. And right now, because of the lockdown, most psychologists and psychiatrists are not practicing in their practices, but some are doing online sessions through Zoom and through Microsoft Teams, where it's just a video session. It's still an hour or 50 minutes long, and it's still quite interactive. So if you're open to those ideas, if you see that you may be, your child may be needing, you may contact me on WhatsApp. I am on the groups, so you can just directly message me, and I'll send you a list of psychologists. It is preferred that you just choose someone in your area, or an area that you would be able to access later on after the lockdown, so that should you want to continue with the therapy, you can just continue with that person, instead of creating another relationship. There are also government services, and USIS charity has added some of the helplines for that as well. I've also just added a few more. Yes, and there's a lot of information on the websites and Google. Just constantly try and read up as much as you can. But I really hope that God continues to give us opportunities like this, where we are educating each other and talking to such things and such areas of life, because we're really trying to create better adults, because some of these issues, they start from childhood and they develop all the way into adulthood, and they become problematic in the later stages. All right, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sabbath, and God bless.